It's the Eagle Community Television Forum with your host, Gary Shorman.
Hi everyone, I'm Gary Shorman and this is the Forum on Eagle Television. It's great to have you watching along here this afternoon as we're talking about this and talking about some of the things going on in not only Ellis but also Barton County. Our guest is Alicia Boor, and Alicia is the Ag and Natural Resource Agent for those two counties. Good to have you on the program.
Thank you for having me.
Now, you have a K-State shirt on.
Yes.
You're wearing that. Tell me a little bit about K-State, but you're actually a Fort Hays State grad.
I am a Fort Hays State grad. I graduated with an animal science degree in 2001 from Fort Hays State. And at first actually pursued a zookeeping career for several years, and in 2013 when my joints gave out on me, I really decided I wanted to come back to agriculture and was able to come back to the area where my husband grew up and become the agriculture agent. What's
cool is you grew up in western Kansas as well,
yes.
Correct?
Yes, correct. I grew up in Dodge City.
What started you getting into the ag side of things?
Ever since I was a little girl, I loved being outside and I loved being around cows. Cows are my favorite animal. When I was younger and my parents would take us to my uncle's farm, and that is up in Ottawa County, and the story goes that I would crawl out of bed and shake him awake at 5:30 in the morning trying to get him to go feed the cows with me. And I remember rolling hay bales that were heavier than me when I was 11 years old and disking fields. And I just loved everything about the agriculture side of things.
So farming, agriculture's in your background. You turned that into a career going into Fort Hays State. Talk about a little bit the job you have now. What all does it entail? Because a lot of times when you talk about, used to be the extension agent, you know, that sort of thing. Now it seems like there's a lot of different categories. Talk about your specific job in agriculture and natural resources.
Basically, we are a new district. Ellis and Barton County formed the Cottonwood District. So we are a new district that we are still kind of going and growing into our roles. First of all, down in Barton County, I was the agriculture and natural resource agent for the entire county. So that included forestry, horticulture, livestock, and crops. Now that we are a district, I'm able to do more programming just in the livestocking area. That doesn't mean that somebody coming into the Barton County office can't ask me any question, or if they come in the Ellis County office, they can't ask Stacy Campbell, who is my counterpart in agriculture and natural resources up here, or Rip Winkle, who is our horticulture agent that is based mainly out of Hays. They can't ask them any question also, but our programming and more of our, what we would help with the producers and research are going to be more along a specialized line. So mine would be the livestock.
Well, when you look at everything else in the world, it's just become more and more complicated. I'm guessing it allows you to also focus on some of the specifics, not only with animal sciences, but really some of those other things that are challenges, and it takes time to figure out what to do and how to answer those questions the best.
Correct. When you are more specialized, like such as livestock, you tend to get more questions that would be just livestock orientated. So you're going to start getting more and more ideas. One of the things that we've been working on for the past several years is cover crops. Well, producers have been working with cover crops and grazing their livestock to extend their, maybe not their pastures, they can pull their cattle off their pastures, put them on cover crops for several months, and then not have to feed quite as much hay as they would have in the past. Those are things, when you get more and more questions on cover cropping, then you can start, you know, looking at more of, well, maybe we could do some research with this, hook up with some specialists and some producers to get better research going and become more of an expert on specifics rather than always having to call up to Manhattan or to the experts in the area, such as the Ag Research Station, and be able to answer those questions ourselves and let them do their research as well.
You know, there's a lot of things you can go out on internet, Google around and find maybe some answers. We'll talk about my goat head question in a second, but you go out and you find these answers. Why is it better to call you and to get help and be able to do those things?
Well, anybody can go out and write something on the internet and put it out there for anybody to see. You've got blogs everywhere, and those may be their personal experiences, but they may not be proven methods to be able to create success. So going back to your go ahead question, you have an issue with a weed. We have research that has proven that this certain chemical will kill that weed. You can go online and try to find something, and they may tell you some home remedy or something that they've tried and it happened to kill theirs, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it is research-based or proven information. By coming to K-State, you're going to get university researched, unbiased information. We're not trying to sell you anything. We're not trying to get you to choose this product over this product. We're telling you what actually works through our research programs.
You know, I grew up on a farm, and basically there was a couple chemicals you could use to kill weeds in general.
Yes.
Now you go to the store, whether it be a farm store or chemical store, whatever that may be, and there's just a wall of these different chemicals.
Yes.
How do you know which one to use, and how does that fit into your answer?
Well, there are so many more chemicals because there are different modes of action on how something would kill a certain plant. And so basically with herbicide resistance, we used to could be able to use glyphosate and it would pretty much kill anything, which glyphosate is your Roundup. Well, now we're having glyphosate resistant weeds, so you need different chemicals that can kill it, whereas Roundup may not kill it anymore. So you've got to be able to rotate and be able to use the different chemicals. And so what K-State does and other universities do is they study how well these chemicals will kill your certain weed or anything else that they are looking at, and be able to say, yes, this chemical works. And so when you call me, I can have a list of certain exact chemicals. So when you go to the store, you're not looking at a brand name, you're looking for glyphosate or triclopyr or something like that. Instead of just looking for Roundup Weed Be Gone, you're looking for the exact chemical that we tell you can help control those things.
I know you do a lot of writing. I see you show up with some of your articles on Hayes Post and
Yes.
talk about those things that you're doing. How many different questions you get on a typical day? Is it like, okay, I'm going to work, okay, here's a crazy question. Do you get that?
Oh, all the time. There are some days that, you know, it's kind of just catch up and make sure, like the article, I have an article that I write every week. And so I have to make sure that I have that article done by 10 o'clock on Wednesdays. But that also doesn't mean that you're not going to have questions come in, either, you know, what do I do with this, you know, this feed ration, how this is what I have on my farm, how do you help me formulate a feed ration? Or I have sugarcane aphids. Sugarcane aphids are actually in Barton County. They're not in Ellis County yet. Can you come out and tell me if they're at the threshold? Can I spray this on this weed? My tree is dying. Can you come out and look at it? Or can I send you photos and you then you can diagnose what's wrong with it. And that could be in a 15-minute time span.
Now, do you do the house calls? I mean, you mentioned here my tree looks sick. Do you do house calls, or how does that work? Because basically you're dealing with ag and you're dealing with natural resources. Yes. How do you tie in some of these other things, like my goat head question, like what do I do with these? How do you tie those in?
Well, if we have time, we do house calls. Sometimes we run quick enough that we may not be able to get to everybody's house, and so that's why we will ask for photos to be sent in, because a lot of times you can diagnose off of a photo. Before we district, all of that was my job, and so it did not matter. I could get a tree question in the morning, a tomato question, a cow question, and a crop question all in one morning, and be out to all four of them in the afternoon if needed.
You're better than Google.
I hate being bored. I prefer to be busy, so if I can help somebody, that's what we're here to do. And so we always say, you know, if you have a question, call us. If we don't know the answer, if we're not the people, we can pretty much guide you to who you need to talk to.
Well, I just looked at your badge. It says Knowledge for Life.
Yes.
On there. And, you know, part of the mission, I know, of K-State is to make sure that information, it doesn't do any good to gather information and do research.
Correct.
If you don't teach people about that. And that's kind of your arm. Talk about what the others do. Stacy Campbell, Stacy Minson, what do they do as part of your group? Stacy
Campbell is, like I said, my counterpart in Ellis. He is the agriculture and natural resource agent that is based out of here in Hayes. So his programming is more your crops. So like this next week, we're having a pre-plant wheat school down in Great Bend for the district. That is basically the newest programming and ideas and information on what you need to do to get a good start on your wheat crop.
And again, all this from research that has now come from Kansas
We
State.
will have 3 specialists down there to talk about how, you know, different ideas on planting your wheat to get the best that you can out of your stand of wheat at the beginning. So that is his major program. Now, if somebody came in and asked him a question about cattle, he probably could still answer that question because we are, you know, we both were generalists beforehand. And so,
or he might refer that to you.
He could, yes, and we are working on our phone system where he can just basically call me just directly and be able to refer that question to me. And as we move forward over the years, it will be more that I am strictly livestock. But we're still new enough that
we're not where you call in and say, if you want livestock, push 1,
correct,
and the call comes to you.
Correct. We're not quite to that point yet. But I mean, as we move forward, that's what our end goal is to be.
And Stacy Minson deals with water issues, which can be a broad. Now, is that also in Barton and Ellis County?
A little bit, but she is our watershed specialist for this area, where part of Barton County is in a watershed, but the other part of Barton County is part of an aquifer. And so she touches the very top of Barton County and can do programming and information with that watershed up at the northern portion of Barton County, but anything that's underneath the aquifer is not anything that she does any research with.
But if a question comes in, you know how to direct to the right person
Correct.
for being able to do that. Well, we're going to take a break. We're going to come back and talk about how somebody, how you find out what to write about, because writing a column every week, you can get some, you have to do some digging on some of that. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about how to get a hold of you if someone has a question out there. We'll be taking a break. Back with more after this from Hayes Med.
Hayes Med is your first and best choice for healthcare. They're the only facility providing tertiary level services in this region. With more than 70 physicians and 26 specialties ranging from heart, orthopedic, spine care, cancer, obstetrics and gynecology, wound care, rehabilitation and surgery, including the Da Vinci robotic surgery, Hayes Med is your comprehensive health provider for people throughout Western Kansas. Hayes Med, helping people be healthy.
Eagle Communications is your ultimate business partner. We provide business class phone with customizable features and fast, reliable internet. Your knowledgeable team at Technology Solutions has a broad base of IT services to meet your needs. Let the experts at Marketing Solutions get your message to the right people on the best platforms. The only piece missing is your business. Call Eagle Communications today at 877-61-EAGLE.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the second half of our forum. Alicia Boor is our guest here, and she's a part of the Ag and Natural Resources group that operates in Barton and Ellis County. We were talking about earlier the ability to really touch base with things you do and read your column on Hayes Post, but I was just pulling this up here. Your topics have been blue-green algae issues, drought management, and the rate of suicide among farmers. Just a few of the articles you've written. That's a broad spread of topics.
Well, part of our job, we get, first of all, we have phone calls that come in and ask various questions. So you can start kind of getting a feel of what you might need to write an article about. Also, we get news releases from the university and also other publications that we read, and you can kind of see a trend of something that you might need to be talking about. Or it could be something that has just been discussed among agents, and you know that the conversation needs to be out there, and so you just, every week you pick a subject and decide what you're going to write about.
You know, I saw one the other day that's out on some of the chemicals that are out there. Roundup was one, and some of those things that people are having concerns with all the chemicals. Everybody does. How do you get your information on some of that? K-State obviously provides some of that, but some of those topics like suicide among farmers, some of those things, I mean, they're big topics.
The suicide among farmers, we actually have K-Farm, and it is basically a helpline for the farming community. They can call the phone number and they can be hooked up with mediators that if they're having issues maybe with succession plan or discussion on what they're going to be doing for the future of their farm. They have mediators, they have people that can help with farm succession, they have lawyers, they have people that they can talk to help them find access to mental health resources. And so the undercurrent with the economic downturn over the last couple of years in farming, farming is very, very difficult. And so I wanted to make sure that that information was out there where people, if they did need help, they had access to the phone numbers that we had provided. And so I called up to the university and talked to the professor that I had heard him speak about it. And he was the one who sent me several articles, and I read and researched it and then just wrote it just to be able to get that information out there. Those are things that aren't easy to talk about, but we need to be talking about them.
So what do you do when somebody wants to have a question, they want to find out more like that? How do they get a hold of you? What's the best way to do that?
The best way to get a hold of me is you can either call the Barton County office at 620-793-1910. You can also call the Ellis County office at 785-628-9430, and they can get me in contact with them. My email is also A and then B as in boy, OOR at ksu.edu, and you can get me directly off of that.
Now, there's a great website too you can go to that gives information. Correct?
Yes, the Cottonwood Extension District, you can either just Google Cottonwood Extension District K-State, or it is cottonwood.ksre.ksu.edu.
You know, that's interesting. I wouldn't have put cottonwood, other than the fact we have a lot of cottonwood trees.
Yes.
But putting that together with K-State and the Extension Service, that sort of thing. So knowing that Cottonwood district and where to search is a big part of that.
Yes, yes it is.
And somebody's going to say, hey, I want you to research this, I want some more information, and that gets you a start on some things as well.
You ask me a question and I'll be able to find you an answer.
Do you ever go online and you look at some of these headlines and go, that's crazy? And say, I need to write an article to straighten people out about this?
Yes, there's been a few things, maybe not that's crazy, but maybe misinformed. Or maybe somebody has a small bit that is a right answer, but not quite the entire answer. And so sometimes you'll see, you know, something online or something that's popular going through that's viral, and so that you can just add more information to that, because yes, they may have the right answer, but it's not the complete answer. So we can help complete those answers sometimes.
Well, thanks for joining us. I'll look for your articles on the Hayes Post, find that. But if you have a question, don't hesitate to make a call. You've been watching The Forum here on Eagle Television. The Forum's brought to you by Hayes Med and by Eagle Communications. Our community connected.